Welcome back into Slick Talk and Merry Christmas. This is the Slick Talk Christmas special. I am your host, Blackstone Joe. Today I have the most special of guests, reoccurring guests now, because this is multiple episodes we've done together. But yes, we do have the return of executive producer Kyle.
Hey, everybody.
Kyle's the man behind the boards, doing all of the important work, editing, making whatever I say in this endless stream of consciousness regarding petroleum-based products, making it somewhat listenable. So if there's an MVP in this operation, it's definitely you, Kyle.
Oh, geez. Well, I don't know what to say.
It can never come down to just one. I think even if you talk about just recording, even if you do have one person trying to do recording, editing, publishing, all of that stuff, if you don't have feedback and you don't have like someone on the other side listening and providing some all important criticism or direction, it's just a rudderless ship, to say the least. Yeah,
no, I get that too. It feels like every episode is just kind of a shot in the dark, if you don't have that second pair of ears with you.
Absolutely. And the reason we had to collaborate on this Christmas special is it's a yearly review. It is going back because this literally marks a year of Slick Talk episodes. So we had to do a retrospective. We had to look and see what's changed, what's stuck out this year. I think you mentioned the other day that, it is kind of a big deal to have a year of podcast episodes. And I started to think about it, and I was like, it absolutely is. Because how many shows do you think are just lying dormant after one big idea and then the host just kind of lost it?
No, we, this is a special episode, so I think it's okay to brag. We've kept the ship going, and I think that's something to celebrate. We got a great listener base. I always love seeing the comments on all the oil slips that I see, and whenever I talk to somebody on the phone too, they say they like the show. That's great, and all the comments you guys have left. So it's definitely appreciated, and I'd like to take a couple moments to kind of celebrate this year.
Yeah, especially the interaction for me. It has to be the most rewarding. Running the Instagram and Facebook, and I mentioned on our last episode with Josh, we're going to be reactivating the dormant Twitter machine as well. Getting that interaction across these various platforms, and like you said, seeing the comments on the slips is reason enough to do the show. I think if I see one good comment on a slip, just mentioning that the podcast is helpful, that it's a resource, that that means the world to me for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Not that this is the most arduous process, but they say it makes it all worth it. So
yes, indeed. So wanted to kick things off with the first episode titled Introductions, but kind of just want to lay a little bit of foundation before that, just for the listeners. So before Kyle came on board, I just had the idea for the show, very vague, nebulous podcast idea, like so many of these things are, and had the mic, had a laptop, and I had a suggestion from a friend to download Audacity, and that was it. And Kyle, I think for people who haven't done the work you have, it may not seem like much, but if you've never pressed record on Audacity or any sort of program, like, it's pretty strange, you know?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for all the that my major in college was media production with some it was a focus in audio, and I spent weeks and weeks and weeks learning different stuff, like Pro Tools was what I mostly used for the classes, but used Audacity in all my side projects because it's accessible. It's a free program. It's really hard to learn, but if you have some foundation, it's kind of easy to jump into it. So yeah, it's definitely. I don't blame don't blame you for being kind of weirded out by it.
So yeah, we start there with the idea, with me not having any like grasp of that side of it. Like, I knew I had something to say. Saying it and getting it, turning it into a listenable product is a whole other thing. So along comes Kyle here, and he's able to step in and immediately, steer the ship for us from the editing side. And now I know that we have the possibility of doing a show.
Yeah.
And Introductions, the first episode, you have this idea in mind of what recording is, just from if you've like just watched movies or shows, and you just kind of imagine what it's like to step in and record something. So Kyle, just going back to that first day, I remember starting off the monologue and like flubbing a line, and I just wanted to cut everything right there.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you have experience that you have the experience to know to keep going, right? Just don't let it overwhelm you.
Yeah. I think a variation of what I said. It's all digital. If we were recording on film, then I would see cut, scrub everything, and try to get it right. But like, it's digital, so we just program or just record whatever we can get, and then let the poor guy editing it all figure it out. That's always been my philosophy.
When we got around to posting the thing too, was interesting because, so again, just stating the process, you come up with the idea, you work up the courage to record it, you get it edited into a product that you think is fit for consumption. You still aren't done. You still have to publish the thing.
Yeah.
And kind of, for people who don't know, it's not exactly plug and play. Like, we went through that process with Apple Podcasts where we didn't really know when it was going to show up.
Yeah, well, it was funny with Apple, with all the iTunes and Apple products. You put your feed up. It's a feed. What the show is, just kind of like an endless stream, and then these services kind of tap into it. So you put this feed up, and Apple products, they say, I think it's like a week to 2 weeks for that first episode, just to kind of verify that this is a podcast and it's legit. So that took a while, but then I remember there were services that just kind of picked us up, and we had no clue until somebody would say like, "Hey, I listened to you here, and here," and it was like, "Oh, I didn't know we were on this, and this." So, that's been a learning curve for me too with this. Because I've done some podcasts, but it was mostly just upload to YouTube kind of deals. So,
yeah,
it definitely kind of an interesting world, interesting and confusing world.
Yeah, and we jumped off from that point with Introductions, and obviously it went decently well, because here we are with episode 28. But there were, I know for me, some interesting changes. Especially when we started bringing in guests, and something, Kyle, that I have like immense respect for now is just like regular commentators who work together for like, sporting, especially live sporting events.
Yeah.
People love to give like commentating teams a hard time for being not up to their expectations for one reason or another. And one thing I just like want to communicate now is like, it is really hard to get a guest, have good chemistry, know what's going on. Like that's tough. And like, you think it's going to be this really easy, and for some people it probably is, but I definitely have respect for people who can bring guests on and have like a smooth flow every time.
Yeah. Well, and, that's the thing. You need to have good chemistry with who you're talking to, but you also have to say something that the audience likes, and with media production, that's really difficult because you don't see your audience, and stand-up, you can kind of read the room and adjust what you're saying and how you're saying. But I'm in an empty conference room talking to a microphone. There's nobody to react to, so it's just kind of like I said earlier, a shot in the dark, and you hope to get something that resonates with people.
Yeah, for sure. And the more interaction that we gained along the way, I think the easier this has been, and that was definitely true with jumping to episode 9, which was Q&A with the analyst, and that's where we it was entirely built off of questions, and then we also got a lot of questions sent in after that. So the customer, listener, etc. interaction has really been what's kept us on track, and it also was responsible for that episode really gaining a lot of listens. But I think you have a couple specific episodes you wanted to bring in for this review, so let's go to one of those.
Yeah. So my first one, while we're still kind of talking about the introduction episode, that was my first one too, or my first episode I wanted to talk about, because that was a big moment. In college it was kind of easy because professors tell you exactly what they want to see from you, and then when you do side projects, it's just whatever makes you and your friends laugh. But this was like kind of the first big, okay, I'm out working for a company and they expect a certain product. Am I hitting their expectations? Am I hitting your guys' at home's expectations for what you want to listen to? And I remember the first couple episodes, they were like 10 minutes long, I think. But I would spend 4 or 5 hours editing those things, because I would just go, I don't think this is right. I don't think, this, no one's going to, everyone's going to notice that little bump or a little something. So I don't know. And going from that episode to now, I'm not sloppy by any means, but I guess just getting more efficient with the process has definitely helped. Knowing, what Joe expects, what the bosses expect, and what you guys expect, has definitely helped make the process easier and definitely less worryful.
Yeah, and the thing is too, I remember bouncing this idea for this show off of different people, and one of the first responses I got, and fair enough, was, you think you're really going to get enough material for let alone a whole year's worth, but for multiple episodes, you think you're going to be able to talk about cylinder types for a whole episode? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I think so. but the biggest thing was I knew from years of writing reports, the questions never stop. The customer, people wanting to know more beyond what we put in the report, it never stops, which is a good thing. And I knew that as long as there's this interest for more information, there's going to be material for a show. And I always kind of held on to that belief. And I think that that's played out over this past year.
Yeah. And on the production side too, I remember, I want to say it was around November, I think it was, when it started to be, I don't want to say started to become real, but we had that Christmas deadline, and then we decided we were going to upload every other week for all year. And I was like, oh crap, what are we going to talk about? Not like I didn't think we had enough to talk about, but just I didn't want to be in that position of, okay, it's Friday, we have an episode coming out next Monday, what are we going to talk about? So I do remember sitting down and thinking of, just off the top of my head, anything that sounded like something you guys might want to hear and something that we would want to talk about. And I still have that list up. We haven't used much from it, thankfully. But, that's still floating around,
Yeah, absolutely. We need to, I've always tried to adhere to that rule from journalism class back in high school, which was having stories in the can, and being able to, not always have to reach for something last minute. You have that prepared. So I've always kind of wanted to have a vault and so far we haven't dipped into it too much, and it's been more of a reactive release schedule, a little, fairly volatile in terms of going about it that way, but it also kind of it always forces a constant energy on recording day, because you're kind of, like I've just kind of thrived off of that. But yeah, we've been able to keep the topics coming. We've been able to constantly get feedback that has helped us go. And I think moving on from the introductions episode, you had another kind of moment in time maybe in the show's evolution that was kind of interesting, or that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. My next one would probably be that BMW episode we did with Chris.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember. I think that was our second episode.
Yep.
It was definitely really early. And that was kind of another big one for me too, because so many people that use our service, they're BMW owners that are concerned about rod bearing wear. So that was kind of a big ticket topic. Wanted to make sure we got it right. But like on my side of things, we were still playing around with the process, and then we were adding another person to the process. So there were a lot of, I remember just kind of spending a lot of time thinking, okay, how are we gonna get this to work? How are we gonna make sure it sounds good? How are we gonna, what are we gonna talk about, kind of stuff. And I actually remember the mic that you use. It's a Audio Technica. I think it's an AT-AT USB, I think is what it's called. I could not get that microphone to work on my laptop for the life of me. I spent so many hours troubleshooting, doing anything I could. Couldn't get it to work. So I remember bringing in my mic and telling you guys just to kind of sit close to each other. Which I kind of feel bad now that we did get that microphone working, and thankfully, so yeah, that's
was something too. While I have it on the brain, I've fielded a couple questions independently of Slick Talk from people who are just kind of in general asking, so we want to start a podcast, or we do have a podcast and we're new to this and we don't know like where to begin, and like, would you have any advice? And that is really hard to answer, because it's like, well, where are you coming from? Like, do you, first of all, do you have a concept? Do you have equipment? What kind of equipment? How often are you trying to post? Do you have social media? It's like, it is such a vast, like, realm, and it's so, like, I don't think there's a really good general rule of thumb guide to this. Like, you just kind of have to come as you are, so to speak, and build from there. Like, okay, do you have a laptop? All right, then we're going to go to the mic. All right, do you have a room? It is endless. So yeah, a lot of respect to people who, like us, have just kind of figured it out along the way. You have to take it just like we do a used oil sample. It's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and I, if there is anybody listening to this who is interested in that kind of stuff, on my side of things with the production stuff, I kind of feel like as long as you have a decent microphone, like right now I'm talking to a Blue Yeti. I think I got this microphone for like $80. And I have a completely asthmatic, close to death laptop that I record on. You don't need the biggest investment into anything, but just some basic tools, and learn how to use your tools, and you'll be off. Kind of like almost like a painter. It's just paintbrush, paint, write whatever you want on the canvas.
Yeah, and I think, I guess if there is a drop dead rule, it is have something to talk about. Don't, I think some people out there just kind of want to use a show as a live journal, which is totally fair, I think. But when you're in our shoes, and when you are aiming to appeal to a very specific niche or community, have something to say, and when it's something less specific, you're just like with your friends and making each other laugh, like, all right, you can kind of freestyle that, and discover the golden moments as they come. But yeah, we've always known, we have the guide, which is all the samples we look at, all of the questions we have to answer in our line of work, and then from there, it's easy. It's easy to find stuff to say, and yeah. So is there anything else like from this past year? Because I know, man, it's been, obviously, I don't even want to say the word unprecedented.
Yeah, it's kind of a meme now. Yeah,
but there's been a lot, and fortunately for us, we're talking a much smaller scale of consequence, but still, we've pivoted like so many other operations have, and maybe you can kind of talk about the changes, that came with quarantine and the whole nine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember the first episode, it was kind of like how do we approach this kind of deal? Because, I would like to kind of offer a bit of an escape. That's kind of what podcasts are. If you're driving to work, you don't have to think about work. You can just listen to the podcast, or, just spending some time at home, it's alternative stuff to listen to. But the quarantine did obviously affect us, and it affected the business, and it affected a lot of our customers. So it's like we have to find that sweet spot of talking about it, saying like, hey, this is how things are shaping up, and this is just how things are now. But it was hard not to dwell on it, because we didn't want anyone thinking, or not. Let me take another go at that. We didn't want anybody, who's already worried enough to worry more. We didn't want to add to anything. And I think that episode that we did, we did find a pretty good sweet spot of, addressing it and addressing how it might change things, but not dwelling on it. And really it didn't. I guess it changed some things. Joe and I don't record in the same room anymore. I don't know the last time I've sat in during a recording. I remember one of Ben's recordings, I just popped in to make sure the laptop was still turned on, still going. And then now, Joe called me to kick off the episode, and I'm sitting in a conference room by myself. Joe's in his own little room, and so that's certainly different. But again, going back to, the
little Joe's room. Yes.
Yeah. The little Joe's room. That obviously makes things different, but, like I said about, as long as you know your tools, you can adapt it. It'll be a challenge, but not forever.
Yeah. And of course, like one of the easy things about this time is you can still make connections.
Yeah.
And during this past year, it's been great connecting with Max from Max Revs, Adam from Airplane Intel. Both of those shows were so much fun to do, especially because, no matter what's going on in the world, we could still link up with other operations, other shows that have a like-minded interest, and bring more content to more people. Like, Max is over in the UK, and then Adam, I'm not even sure where he's posted at right now. I believe Florida, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've still been able to link up and spread the good word of used oil analysis in a variety of ways, and that's something else too. If anyone's listening to this and they have an interest in what we do, or you have a show, kind of in the same ballpark, we're always eager to make that connection, collaborate, whatever. It's fun it's definitely a fun aspect of what we do.
Yeah. So how about yourself, Joe? Do you have any noticeable things over the year that you'd like to discuss?
Well, one thing that I want to keep building on, and I've liked what we've done so far, is just incorporating people of Blackstone into the show.
Yeah.
People who have listened throughout the year. Obviously, you've gotten to know Kyle a little bit. We had an episode with Luke. We've done a couple with Ben, one with Josh, one with Amanda, one with Chris. Still, though, there's a lot more to Blackstone.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep working on that. I would also want to, eventually incorporate customers in a space bigger than just their report. Even bringing them onto the show is something. But yeah, during the year, making that progression, getting used to sharing the airspace with other people has been definitely a learning experience and something I want to keep building on. But
yeah, and, it's kind of a shame that there was no Oshkosh this year, because I know in a lot of years past we've had a Blackstone booth at Oshkosh, and that would have been real fun to meet a lot of you guys and get to talking. And I don't know if we could have done a live episode or something like that, but that would have been a lot of fun.
That would have been really cool. Doing a live show.
Yeah, so we'll I know it's impossible probably to get a booth at one of those things, or not a booth, but to get a live show like that inside Oshkosh. But I'm sure like the campground that you guys stay at, we could have something cool there. I don't know. These are just ideas for next year. Really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oshkosh, and I think before this show, Oshkosh was really the thing that let people get to know us personally. And that was, because sure, people who live in town are apt to stop in and can get a tour and all that. You can meet us. But Oshkosh was the way to meet everyone from the president to the newest report writer. And now the show, I think, fortunately, has been able to step into that void and even more so leave a much, much bigger imprint for people to follow Blackstone, learn more about this operation we have, which has been cool. But yeah, we want to amplify that with Oshkosh in the coming years.
Yeah. It'd be cool to go to Lemon stuff too, because there's so many people that use Blackstone that have Lemon cars. That'd be real cool to go to one of those and say like, hey, come meet Blackstone Joe at something. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be fun too. Yeah, if there are a lot of operations and a lot of, enthusiast groups and whatnot that we obviously partner with for testing, but it would be fun to also include more about you and what you do, through a show. But yeah, just speaking about being in Fort Wayne, I don't know how many people listening to this actually know where we're at. Blackstone Laboratories is located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And one thing I'm definitely proud of with the show is how many elements of our social media content is sourced through Fort Wayne creatives. So obviously you have Kyle and myself, but also everything from the intro music to the graphics work, our logo. If you're on Instagram and you see any photos posted, it's either a Fort Wayne producer, a Fort Wayne photographer. We try to connect with people in town, and it's just neat to have so much of the lifeblood of the show, use resources around us. It's been a way to ingratiate Blackstone to Fort Wayne more, because just I hadn't heard of Blackstone until I started working there, because we don't have to advertise, we don't have to pass our name around, because we just people find us. Like if they need it, they find us. But it's still neat to make more connections in the community and obviously beyond.
Yeah, and even on the production side of things, all of your stuff, the headphones you use, the microphone you use, that was all from Sweetwater, which is a local Fort Wayne company. And I certainly have a card of stuff that I'd like to get in the future, once everyone's back to recording in the same room and all that. So even on the production side, we try to keep it inside Fort Wayne as much as we can.
Yeah, it's fun to obviously make more people a part of the show, have a brand that is more than just us, and that's cool, even if it's in a slight capacity. Mm-hmm. It's fun to do it. And obviously, I think, rounding this out, the efforts have translated, during this past year, our efforts have translated into some real numbers. And, like, we're still learning the significance of certain numbers. Until you've jumped into the podcast world, it's just hard to know what is a lot. But I still look at certain things and feel the significance there. So we have already cleared, as of this recording, not even the end of the entire year, but we've already cleared 8,000 downloads.
Woo!
And yeah, everyone I tell, I say, when I hear the word thousands, I think that's significant in pretty much everything. I don't know. I don't know a world where that's not a lot of something.
Yeah.
So cleared 8,000. We still aren't done with this year. Mm-hmm. So we're excited to see where we actually cap this thing off. I would love to get to 10.
Yeah.
We'll see. But cleared that many downloads. And that's not even taking into account video views, because we also post this on YouTube, Vimeo, so on. Mm-hmm. We haven't even gotten those in yet. So the number's bigger. And then also, just according to the online aggregate site Listen Notes, we're in the top 5% mm-hmm. of almost 2 million shows. The exact number is 1,883,810. So there's a lot.
Yeah.
We're in the top 5%, and that just makes us excited for the future, because we aren't done. Like, we do this thing bi-weekly. We have our audio. We still haven't gotten, we want to do live shows. We want to incorporate some video. We want to, we're by no means done building whatever this thing is. So we're excited to keep it going.
Yeah. And honestly, I just want to touch on this too, because I don't know, anything over 3 listeners, Joe, me, and my mom, anything over those 3, I just feel extremely lucky to have. And, I'm very pleased that there are people out there who do want to listen to this podcast. And, I definitely want to say thank you to you, you everybody out there listening to this, definitely, gives you a warm cackling feeling in your heart. I think that's the word
because
for it,
especially in 2020 with people spending so much time at home, like, the amount of podcasts has skyrocketed. The amount of people buying podcast equipment has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So us being anywhere in a list, like the last brag point I'll have is if you pull up on iTunes automotive podcasts, we're on the popular page now.
Yeah. And
that's like, I think that page has like 60 some out of like 500, some even bigger number of shows than that. So yeah, there's no shortage of content out there. It is a lot to sift through. So being part of anyone's regular rotation is just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the final way we want to round out this year, though, Kyle, something we've done with Ben, and we need to keep going, is talking a little bit about music.
Yep.
And now it's naturally time to do an album of the year.
Album of the year.
It's kind of daunting to pick one. So
yeah.
I had a lot of ways I could go with mine, but I want to hear yours first. So obviously tell us what it is, but the context for how it became album of the year, was it like chosen strictly off of how many plays it got, or maybe the moments it was played were more significant? Like, what went into choosing it?
Yeah. Well, my album for the year, I don't know if you guys are aware of a unknown band named Cannibal Corpse, but I bring that up, and I'm joking. I just wanted to touch on that briefly. I'm sorry if that offended anybody, because I did listen to that while editing, and I was like, should I cut that out? So sorry if we offended anyone with that, but that's just what he was listening to at the time, and didn't want to tell him no. But for my real pick, it might seem kind of left field. It is the Tron Legacy soundtrack. Tron Legacy was a movie that came out in 2010. The soundtrack was made by the incredible French duo Daft Punk, if you guys have heard of them. They do electronic music. I think it's kind of what the genre is called. But what's fantastic about this soundtrack is it's the Daft Punk electronic music, but they also incorporate an orchestra, and the orchestrated pieces are so beautiful. And just the way that the orchestra interacts with the electronic components of each song, it really is just something wonderful to listen to. It's always the very first thing I put on, specifically my two favorite songs, Son of Flim and Adagio for Tron. Those are my two favorite songs from the album. Anytime I get a new speaker of any sort, I always put on those two, just as a good baseline of, okay, what can the speaker system do? This year I've been trying to get more into music. I have a violin that just got refurbished that's ready for pickup. Adagio for Tron is the first song I really plan on learning to play, just because it has such a beautiful violin piece. And you wouldn't expect that from not only a motion picture soundtrack, but also Tron Legacy, kind of a movie that came and went, 10 years ago. But man, it is such a wonderful album. I've been listening to it all year, and honestly, it might even be an album of the decade for me. So that was my pick. What's yours, Joe?
Well, first of all, that's an awesome pick because Daft Punk is an amazing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I want to call them group, just duo, but they go beyond the outfits.
Yeah.
Don't confuse them with other acts that just like wear interesting gear on stage.
Yeah.
They actually have a lot to, like. I remember if there's any purists listening to this, they might get upset at this pick, but what was the album that had Get Lucky on it?
Random Access Memories.
Random Access Memories.
Yeah, that is a great...
That was the album that got me into Daft Punk, and I know it's not like what some of their super fans might consider their creative peak, but still,
yeah,
that whole album was loaded with tracks I played on repeat. Everything from the first track on, I still like that album a lot. So, no, very good choice there. I kind of want to go listen to that now, but
it's good. It's recommended.
I will give that a spin. So for me, my album of the year was Led Zeppelin 2, and
classic.
The thing with this record, like I was asking Kyle, like, was there, when you went into choosing yours, was it because of moments more than actual plays? And I would say this one's definitely more for the moments, although it's gotten played a lot. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if it's gotten the most still significant. And here's why. We got a turntable, my wife and I did, for a wedding present.
What's the brand?
And you know what? I need to go in there and look at it real quick, because actually you're right, and I would feel bad if I didn't say it. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, you got it. I'll give you 3. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast within a podcast. My name's Kyle. Today I think we're going to talk about what I had for lunch today. I had Burger King. I've been trying to get away from fast food, and this is the only time I've had fast food this year, and my mask smells horrible now, so I think Joe's back.
Yes. All right. So, my wife and I got a turntable off our registry. It is my absolute favorite wedding gift we got. Shout out to my friend Dr. Mark Wise and his partner Sophie. She's also a doctor.
Jeez, smart
we'll see
family.
if we can keep that in there.
Yeah.
So Audio Technica, turntables, nice. Audio Technica. It's an LP AT120, something like that.
Yeah.
It's letters and numbers. But the point is, Audio-Technica not only makes a good mic, they make a good turntable.
Yeah. And I want to say, too, I name dropped the AT USB. I actually own the XLR version of that mic. The XLR is the non-USB version. Okay. And I bought it before the podcast, before anything. I just don't have anything to plug it into. So even, they have my stamp of approval, Audio-Technica, and I love the headphones that you use, that you bought for the show. So they get a A+ star from me.
Yeah, no, I've been happy with them too, and their turntable is excellent.
I bet, yeah.
And back to the Led Zeppelin 2 was the first record we got to go with it, and I will say, when you're assembling a turntable, if you've never done it, it's not fun.
No.
Mainly because of balancing the tone arm, all right? Like, the thing that has the needle on the end. Mm-hmm. If you have the type of turntable where that's not set up already, which I don't know which ones do,
probably
you have to balance it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cheap, like, Crosley's or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't want
so
to say
you have
to
learn how to.
But, oof, that's a shout out.
Yeah, shots fired on this Christmas special.
Yeah.
We were fiddling around with it, my wife and I, and it was so frustrating because you don't want to, depending on how you set that thing up, if you set it up wrong, the needle will sit too heavily and will tear up your records. Mm-hmm. You don't want it to be too high. So it's awkward if you've never done it. So it was a frustrating process. We're trying to figure it out. We finally did, and I had the record turned over on the wrong side when we went to go test it out again, and the first track that played was Heartbreaker, which opens the second side of Led Zeppelin 2. Mm-hmm. And
B-side
that song,
tracks, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Jimmy Page and his guitar on that song, mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite riffs that opens a song that I've ever heard. It's electric every time I play it. It's still like new.
Oh, yeah.
That album and that song have gotten a lot of plays. But yeah, just when you are putting together a turntable and you finally get it and you get it turned on and you have the speakers wired correctly, and because like I've never wired any speakers to a turntable. I had no idea what I was doing. So hearing that come out first was about as perfect, I think, as it can get. And I love the whole album. My other favorite track on there is probably Thank You. Which is fitting. This is an episode where we're thanking the listeners.
Yeah. It all ties
so
together.
Yeah, that's my album of the year. It's gonna keep on being played. I'm a big Lead head now because how could you not?
Yeah.
As long as we're firing shots. If the Beatles are your favorite band, the only question I have for you is, have you heard a Led Zeppelin song? and then get back to me. That's Blackstone Joe's hot take, which is the supremacy of Led Zeppelin.
It's a spicy one
over other groups from the UK.
Yeah, spicy, but but I agree with it. I don't know. There's not that there's anything wrong with the Beatles, but I don't know. How could you listen to Baby I'm Gonna Leave You and not come away feeling like you're, just listen to something amazing?
Yeah, everything. Like, the other thing I'll say too, and this is kind of fun because we're doing a show where we don't have to be so stuck on a report or a oil type. It's fun to just riff on this, but the deep cuts are better than most bands like greatest hits. Like Ben the other day was talking to me about Led Zeppelin. He's like, "Oh, my favorite song ever is their song The Rover," and I was like, not sure if I've heard that.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like The Rover, which I believe it's off Physical Graffiti.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I probably had heard it. I just didn't stick out for whatever reason. But like even that, so when you even get into the deep cuts, I'm still discovering deep cuts that I like / love. And by the way, I'll just leave people with this note on the deep cuts of Led Zeppelin. Listen to In the Evening. Listen to that. I guarantee you most people haven't really come across it because it came off, if it wasn't their last album, it was the album before it. But either way, it was not their peak when this album came out, so people overlooked it. But check out In the Evening, and you will be glad you did.
Yeah. Well, all right. That about does it, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's been fun. Bringing you back on, Kyle, going back through time, cataloging some of the evolution. So yeah, this is without doubt a special episode worthy of being the Blackstone Christmas special, first ever.
Yep, yeah. This one will be easier too than last time because I do remember waking up very early to post that episode, but we don't have to now. So yeah, easy all around. But
so absolutely, as Kyle has done a couple times through this episode, wanted to extend a great big thank you to everyone who has taken the time to not only listen to this show, but respond.
Yeah.
Leaving comments, reviews, ratings, suggestions for other shows. That's how we are going to keep this thing going. Mm-hmm. So, Kyle, do you have anything else before we sign off?
Yeah, actually, one more important thing. Hope everybody has a great holiday weekend and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's. We'll see you in 2021. Actually, I think there's an episode before 2021, but we'll see you then, and we'll see you in the episode after.
No matter what, we're going to keep this thing rolling, and we thank you all for rolling with us. So this is Blackstone Joe and Kyle signing off.
Bye, everybody.